excuses, Quran. Okay, here's a challenge for you pagans to come and refute me. Allah prays and worships. Allah prays and worships. And so does the God of Judaism. So let's go through this first challenge. I'm going to share the link. You better show up. And you anti-Trinitarians, show up to put me in my place. Right? Don't hide. Don't manifest. First proof. Here's the Quran. Ask any Arabic reader who's not Muslim, do these words mean pray? Yep. I've done hundreds of sessions. I've given you the receipts, the lexicons. So, this is Surah Al-Baqarah, the chapter of the pig, Jake Meritabo. Right? Chapter of the cow. Surah Al-Baqarah 157. Upon them rest the prayers and mercy from their Lord. Look, upon those who are guided, Allah's prayers are upon them. Here, salawatun. Salawat means prayers. So, the prayers of the Lord, their Lord prays for them and he gives them mercy. So he does two things. Praise for them, plural, plural, salawat, that's plural, and his mercies, rahmat, right? Rahmatun, rahmah, mercy. So the Muslim God prays. We're going over stuff we've covered, but I'm challenging these pagans to prove that they really worship one God, not a grotesque monster who consists of multiple gods. So time to muzzle you dogs for blaspheming the Trinity. Oops, hold on, man. All right, my shipment just came in. Hold on, guys. My shipment just came in. What's up, puppies? What's going? My shipment, man. Hold on. I didn't even know. It's hot. I got to bring it in. What's up, Beatles? Where you at, kitty? Here, kitty. All right. So that's verse number 1. Let's go to the second verse. It's all in the articles. Chapter 33, verse 43 of the Quran. Edward Henry Palmer. This is one of the most accurate Quran translations in English. The Palmer translation. One of the most accurate. Now, I don't know what I did with my coffee. See, that's what happens when you... Oh, it's right there. That's when you get too excited, puppies. Hey, listen. You want me to take you to the beach? You're not talking. You're not talking. All right. He it is who prays. Allah is the one who prays. Yusalli for you and his angels. So now notice, it says Allah and his angels are praying for believers to bring you forth out of the darkness into the light, for he is merciful to the believers. Okay, notice how retarded this passage is. It says Allah and his angels are praying for believers that Allah will be merciful to the believers and bring them out of darkness into light. So now here's my question. Why does Allah need to pray to himself in order to get himself to take believers out of darkness into light and show them mercy? I understand angels praying to Allah. Oh Allah, show mercy to them, bring them out of darkness. But it says Allah and the angels are praying. So why is Allah having to pray to himself? So Allah has to say, hey, self, yes, self, do yourself a favor, even though you're myself, but do yourself a favor. Bring them out of darkness into the light and show them mercy. Okay, self, I'll do what you just asked yourself. Thank you, self. It was nice talking to myself. See that? Yeah, get rid of the trolls. Get rid of the trolls if they're asking relevant questions. Everyone got it? Allah prays to himself with the angels. Now, Edward Palmer has a footnote. So if you go there, you can actually click and it'll take you there. There it is right there. Online for free. Look what he says in the footnote. Focus, guys. Get rid of the trolls who are asking irrelevant questions. The same word here, this word, salla, yusalli, as is used, as is rendered, pray, and all other the passage in the Quran. Did you see what he just admitted? This word, salla, whenever it's used in the Quran, always means pray. But the Muslims being embarrassed, when this verb is used for Allah, they say it doesn't mean pray. It means he gives blessing, which is a joke. though the commentators interpret it here as meaning bless. So too in the formula, which is always used after Muhammad's name, the Muslims, because they're pagans, men worshippers, they will always say, when they mention Muhammad's name, if they're saying it in Arabic, Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Sallallahu, and he's going to tell you what it literally means. Notice this. Sallallahu alayhi upon wasallam. May God bless and preserve. But he says, no, literally, the literal translation is, may God pray for him and salute him. Damn, they're asking Allah to pray for Muhammad. You see that? So, here's the final verse that the Muslim God prays. And I'm going to give you more. I'm just opening up the floor. Then I'm going to show you the rabbinic God prays. And the rabbinic God needs rabbis to pray over him and bless him. So what is that about Jesus praying in the Trinity? 33:56. Verily God and his angels pray. Notice, Allah joins the angels and together they perform the same act. Notice, Allah and his angels are joined together and carrying out the same action. What action? Allah with his angels and his angels pray. Yusaluna, from Salah for the Prophet. Now, the verse is saying, look, if even Allah joins angels to pray for Muhammad, you should be praying for Muhammad. So notice, three groups pray for Muhammad. Allah prays for Muhammad, like Muhammad hijab, wife beater, woman prostituting rapist like his prophet, said to David, it says pray for, not to. Ha, 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 ha. Yeah, we agree, pray for. But who does he pray to when he prays for Muhammad? Allah prays for Muhammad. Angels pray for Muhammad. Believers pray for Muhammad. They're all performing the same action. So if angels praying for Muhammad means they are actually praying, and believers praying for Muhammad means they're actually praying, then when you then have Allah joining the angels in this action, that means he too is actually praying. Why then do you mistranslate the verb, saying, no, it means he sends blessing? No. If angels praying for Muhammad means they pray, believers praying for Muhammad means they pray, then Allah is performing the same action with the angels. That means it has to have the same meaning. Ain't gonna work, sucker. Sucker. Sucker ain't gonna work. Suckamthi. Call me Thaya. What about the rabbis? You want to be shocked? You thought that was bad. This is why people believe the Quran is actually Arabicized Judaism, because it's filled with Jewish myths, fables, commandments, Talmudic stories, commandments, mixed in with heretical Christian ideas, apocryphal Christian stories, and paganism. But you see that the Quran, the bulk of it, seems to come from Jewish sources, right? And it's been documented. Because note, the rabbis claim that their God prays to himself and asks a rabbi to pray over him and bless him. And where? Babylonian Talmud, Barachot, chapter 1. You click here, and here it is. See it right here? This is an Orthodox website. It's not Christian. So you don't say we are lying. And I'm going to give you two versions of it, and then I'm going to open up the floor. Here it is. Get ready. Along the same lines, Rabbi Yohanan said in the name of Rabbi Yossi, from where is it derived that the Holy One, blessed be praised? You see it? One thing about the rabbis, they were meticulous in breaking down every jot, tittle, letter of the law. They would take the letters and try to decode them because they're convinced even the letters had spiritual meaning, even the way it was worded. So in this way, you can learn from them and see how much of their interpretation is accurate. And in those cases where it's accurate, you'll see how deep the Bible is. For instance, literally, Isaiah 56:7 says, I'll bring them to my holy mountain and make them joyful in the house of my prayer. It doesn't say my house of prayer. Literally, the Hebrew says the house of my prayer. So guess what the rabbis did? Yep, gematria and all that. Guess what the rabbis did? Pray for my allergies and my throat. The rabbis saw the Hebrew and says, the house of my prayer. They took it super literally. Wait, God has a house where he prays? Because they said, it doesn't say my house of prayer. It says the house of my prayer. So they took it literally. I mean, see, God is in his house praying. This is how meticulous they were in breaking down every, right, nook and cranny. Literally, the Hebrew says, the house of my prayer. They go, wow, it didn't say my house of prayer. Are you with me there? You catch what the rabbis are doing? It didn't say my house of prayer. It says the house of my prayer. So the rabbis went, oh, wait. God's house is where he prays. My prayer? God prays? So they're asking the question, where do you find proof that God prays? See the screen, right? Is it large enough, guys? Let's see. Is the screen large enough? Let me just make sure you're seeing it. The articles are there. It's large enough, right? Okay, good. So they're asking the question. Let me just go full screen. Look, from where is it derived that the Holy One, blessed be he, prays? And then they give the evidence. As it is stated, I will bring them to my holy mountain, make them joyful in the house of my prayer. Isaiah 56:7. The verse does not say the house of their prayer, rather the house of my prayer. From here we see that the Holy One, blessed be he, prays. And so they came up with a fictional prayer. They now have God pray. Watch here. Get ready to laugh. The Gemara. Rumble, you're seeing this? Okay. So then they ask, the Gemara asks, what does God pray? Watch what God prays. Rav Zutra Bar Tovia said that Rav said, God says, now here's his prayer. They even have his prayer recorded. Please focus because I'm going to open up to challengers. God says, may it be my will. Look, God is praying to himself. May it be my will that my mercy will overcome my anger towards Israel for their transgressions. And may my mercy prevail over my other attributes, through which Israel is punished. And may I conduct myself toward my children Israel with the attribute of mercy, and may I enter before them beyond the letter of the law. So God has to pray to himself in order to invoke himself and remind himself to be merciful to his people and not destroy them. If you think this wasn't silly, I want to show you the blasphemy. Do you want to see the blasphemy? You think this is silly? Watch the blasphemy here. Similarly, it was taught in a Baraita that Rabbi Ishmael ben Elisha, the high priest, said, once on Yom Kippur, I entered the innermost sanctum. So he entered the holy place to offer incense. But now watch, he had a vision. Look what he sees in the vision. The Holy of Holies to offer incense. And in a vision I saw Akatriel Yah, the Lord of hosts. Notice the name. Akatriel means the crown of God. Yah, short for Yahweh. Yehovah Sevaot. In other words, he saw God. One of the names of God expressing ultimate authority, seated upon a high and exalted throne. So this rabbi sees God on a throne. Now, what does God tell him? Watch. And he said to him, Ishmael, my son, bless me. You see it? See that? Their God has a rabbi, needs a rabbi to bless him. See that there? That's why, Catherine, everyone, go watch all my sessions on God praying. If you don't remember these facts, how are you going to use them to demolish the blasphemies? I said to him the prayer that God prays. So then he prayed God's own prayer. Okay, God, I'm going to pray what you pray to yourself. What you pray to yourself, I'm going to pray. May it be your will. Where do you get this prayer from? Here. God says, may it be my will. So I'm going to pray what you pray to yourself, and I'm going to pray it over you. May it be your will that your mercy overcome your anger. Watch here. And may your mercy prevail over your other attributes. And may you act toward your children with the attribute of mercy. And may you enter before them beyond the letter of the law. Now, you thought that's blasphemous. Watch here. You thought that's blasphemous, that God is telling a rabbi, bless me, please, pray over me. Watch God's gesture. The Holy One, blessed be he, nodded his head, accepting the blessing. This event teaches us that you should not take the blessing of an ordinary person lightly. If God asked for and accepted a man's blessing, all the more so that a man must value the blessing of another man. Now, you understand how they depicted God? When he's praying over him, God is doing this. In other words, he's davening like the Jews do at the Wailing Wall. In this case, it's God Most High on the throne. In other places, Akatriel Yahweh Savod is said to be Metatron. You understand? They said God is nodding. What did the Jews do at the Wailing Wall? So God is depicted as a Jew. All right? Davening, right? The Holy One, blessed be he, nodded his head. Now I'm going to read another version of this. Now understand the impact this has in the mind of the Jews? If God needs a rabbi to bless him, and God asks a rabbi to bless him, how much more do the Jews need their rabbis? See, this elevates rabbis to cult godlike status. See what's happening here? See the brainwashing? Okay, now let's read another version. And I'm going to open up. Now remember, they can't tell you I'm lying. Here it is. Sfaria.org. Right here. What does God pray? God said, may it be my will that my mercy will overcome my anger. See, it's right there. And the Hebrew's there. Ishmael, my son, bless me. Holy One nodded his head. Now here's another English translation of this same section. Here it is. Where am I getting this from? Right here. Download these before they disappear. So let's read another version. Rabbi Yohanan says in the name of Rabbi Hosea, how do we know that the Holy One, blessed be he, says prayers? Because it says, even then will I bring to my holy mountain and make them joyful in my house of prayer. Now there's a note. Literally in the house of my prayer. Okay. It is not said their prayer, but my prayer. Hence, you learn that the Holy One, blessed be he, says prayers. What does he pray? Rabbi Zutra bin Tobi said in the name of Rab, may it be my will that my mercy may suppress my anger, and that my mercy may prevail over my other attributes, so that I may deal with my children in the attribute of mercy, and on their head stoop. Okay, sorry, see, I got a typo here. Damn it. All right, 1 second, guys. This is a typo here, because I'm stupid, mister. I'm going to have to correct this. 1 second. Stop short of the limit of strict justice. It was taught, Rabbi Ishmael ben Elisha says, I once entered into the innermost part of the sanctuary to offer incense, and I saw Akatriel Jah, the Lord of hosts. Well, here's the meaning. Crown of God. Akatriel means the crown of God. Jah, Jehovah, Yahweh Savaot, Adonai Savaot. Seated upon a high and exalted throne, he said to me, Ishmael, my son, bless me. I replied, may it be thy will that thy mercy may suppress thy anger, and thy mercy may prevail over thy other attributes, so that thou mayest deal with thy children according to attribute of mercy, and mayest on their behalf stop short of the limit of strict justice. And he nodded to me with his head. Yes, yes, yes. We learn, incidentally, that the blessing of an ordinary man must not be considered lightly in your eyes. All right.